The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed during this or any broadcast belong solely to our guests or our hosts. These broadcasts do not represent or reflect the views of their employers, sponsors, or affiliated organizations.
Welcome to the Flipboard EDU podcast with your host, William Jeffrey, where we collaborate, communicate, and educate with the greatest educators in the world on Flipboard. Let's start the show.
Welcome back, Flipboard fam. This is your favorite coach, Coach Jeffrey, and I have another amazing guest today. I have my friend, Mia Quagliarello. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Will. How you doing?
I am so good. Tell our listening audience a little bit about yourself, please.
Okay, my name is Mia Quagliarello. I am Flipboard's head of creator community. I've been at Flipboard for over a decade. And what I do at Flipboard is I help creators see the value of our platform. So how people who spend so much time creating this amazing content can curate it into magazines on our platform and grow an audience, get discovered, connect with other enthusiasts who are really passionate about the same things that they're writing about. That's most of my job at Flipboard is running our creator programs and being the liaison with creators. I also have a podcast for Flipboard called The Art of Curation, where I want to show how curation is actually everywhere. It's not just in stuffy museums, but it's how you curate your friends, how you curate a party or a dinner party or your online presence. And for the podcast, I talk to different tastemakers across different fields about the art and science of selection and the role of human taste in a tech-driven world. And I also have a Substack where I interview ordinary people with extraordinary taste about the things that they're reading, watching, and listening to. I'm also a creator, both for Flipboard and on Flipboard.
Yes, and I love that about you. I want to go back to, I want to say maybe 10 years ago, maybe it was 2015. Okay. And I was a classroom teacher and I was having my students use Flipboard in my classroom. How did you guys get in touch with me? How did that happen?
We are always looking for active participants and curators and people who really get our platform. And you got it. We were reading topics like education, technology, which I know you're very passionate about. And we saw you curating great magazines and doing it regularly and engaging with people in a very authentic way. And we just saw you as a really authentic, kind, genuine person who was really understanding the platform and understanding how it could benefit your community in Texas and in the schools that you work in.
Thank you so much. I remember just the fact that you, and I think this is right before I met Crystal. I think I met you first. And I was just taken away at how friendly you guys were. I had dealt with a lot of ed tech companies at that particular time when I was in the classroom. And I was just taken aback about how beautiful Flipboard looked with my students and just what we could do. And I remember just meeting you and I was like, man, she's really nice. And then I think we had a call with some other people on. I think Marcy may have been on that call. I think Crystal may have been on that next call. I want to thank you for inadvertently starting the Flipboard EDU podcast about 10 years ago.
Well, thank you for being such a fantastic community member and leader in this space. And remember, we had so much fun together in San Antonio, too. Hopefully, we'll get to see each other in the real world again.
Yes, that would be great. You guys are doing some amazing things at Flipboard. And when I was inquiring around, Crystal just said, hey, you need to talk to Mia. I'm going to switch screens and I'm going to go to the Flipboard website. And I think this is some great information there. If we can talk us through some of the things I click on, we're here on the Flipboard main page. What is Flipboard for those people who don't know from your guys' standpoint?
That's a great question. And I'm glad you asked it. It's a great place to start. So Flipboard is the world's first social magazine. And it's really a place to inform and inspire. How Flipboard works is that people personalize their experience to follow topics, people, publications, magazines based on whatever they're interested in. And all of that stuff gets put into the blender of our algorithm and surfaced to you in 24/7 feeds. Your home feed is called the For You feed. But you can also drill down into a topic or into a magazine. You can also go as very specific and niche as you want and flip through the latest content from all different sources on that thing that you're into. You can also think of Flipboard as like a browser for internet content that kind of turns things into beautiful layouts and very easy to browse and flip through quickly. So that's like at its base level, it's like a way to keep up on the news and follow news feeds about your hobbies and interests. But also we're a curation platform. If you see a story that you want to save or share with others, you click the plus button to save it into a magazine. And we have two ways you can save stories on Flipboard. One is magazines and another is storyboards. Like magazines have no beginning, middle, and an end. It's just kind of a repository for links from all different places. And you can have a magazine for yourself or you can curate together with other people. And then storyboards are a tool in private beta, but we are definitely giving creators and other serious curators access. And storyboards are more for finite list-like curation. If educators have very specific lesson plan that they're curating around a storyboard or a magazine, could be a great complement for students in the classroom to get more information about that thing, for example. Is that clear?
That is clear. That is crystal clear. And you guys now are working towards creating. I want to focus on this a little bit because teachers are content creators. And in my opinion, that's the first thing that we do. You guys have a way for people to build their presence on Flipboard. And I would like to talk about that right now if we could.
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing to do to build a presence from Flipboard is to create an account or a profile. And it's really important that you put a real picture of yourself, you use your real name, and that you have a short bio so that people know that this is like a real person with true intentions behind whatever they're curating. Create a profile and make sure you've filled out all of the sort of metadata associated with it. And then start curating. You can create a magazine about anything that you're into. For educators, it could be one magazine for each of your classes. It could be a magazine with all of your colleagues. It could be a magazine just for professional development. Whatever you're into, you want to create a magazine, which is like a container for all of these stories and links. And then you can start flipping stories in from inside of the app or from anywhere on the web. And then like I said, you can collaborate with others. You can turn any magazine into a group magazine and invite collaborators to share stories with you. And if the magazine is public, anyone can follow what people are curating together, but only the people that you invite can actually add stories into the mix in a group magazine.
That is such a beautiful social network of curating anything on the web. That's videos, that's podcasts, that's pictures. That's what drives you guys to make that?
The internet is such a sprawling, messy place, and we believe like curation is a way to make sense of that world and to put things into a collection that's really a shortcut for others interested in that thing, whatever you're into. It's really a shortcut for people to get the best content out there. So you're doing a true service to yourself and to your followers by curating from all of that noise into a collection, and you're telling the world like this is the best of what you should know or read for whatever topic you're into. So I think that's one of the main motivations for curating a magazine. Of course, like traffic is also a concern or a goal for creators. Flipboard is a just sort of distribution system. And if one of your goals is getting traffic for your content, simply by flipping stories into magazines, you get that story into our content ecosystem. And one of the things that happens on the back end, when you share a story in Flipboard, our algorithm will, give it up to 10 topic tags on the back end. And it tells the system like, this is a great story for EdTech and might make the story more likely to appear in our EdTech topic, which I think is a pretty big topic, which already has quite a few readers interested in the very things that the creator is writing about. To summarize, I think sharing expertise with others, driving traffic for your content. And then, of course, a lot of people use magazines just for themselves as a way to share links and keep up on their personal and professional interests.
Excellent, Mia. And then for the creators who are trying to build their presence on social media, some of us who are small run into these algorithm games. Why is using Flipboard a good idea for creators?
Well, as I said, we have this distribution ecosystem. So some of our biggest topics, tech, photography, food, have many millions of readers. And so simply by curating content into Flipboard, you're telling the system that this is a story that's eligible for this topic. I think finding an audience is really important. And just by virtue of curating into magazines, you can do that. It's good for creators who are building an audience and their sort of authority around expertise, like putting a stake in the ground that you're an expert on edtech. And by curating on edtech, your name and your presence and your content will start to appear in those topics. It's also a great source of inspiration for creators if you want to keep up on what your competitors are doing, or if you want a constant flow of ideas. Incorporating Flipboard into your media diet is like a fantastic way to stay relevant and to feed the machine in terms of your content strategy and your offering to the world.
You guys have a new integration with Mastodon. I had never heard of Mastodon. Are you familiar? Oh, well, a stupid question, but
I am.
Yeah, and you're a content creator yourself. How is that integration going for you with Flipboard and Mastodon?
Yeah, maybe I should take a step back. Would it be helpful to take a step back and explain what Mastodon is and what the Fediverse is? Because it took me a while. It took me a while to get it, and I hope I don't bungle the explanation myself. But Mastodon is a service that's gained a lot of popularity, especially as that sort of drama has been amped up at Twitter and people are looking for Twitter alternatives. Mastodon is a software that allows you to start your own social network. And there are more than 10,000 of them, in fact. And these social networks are called instances or servers, and they're all interconnected with each other. That's called the Fediverse. And how these servers talk to each other is through a protocol called activity. And this allows there to be one ecosystem where people from different servers can share content together and see everything that other people are sharing, and or just go as niche as what people are sharing on your own server. It's akin to like back in the day, you would only be able to email other people with an AOL account, for example. And then there was a protocol that was invented that helped, didn't matter what email service you were using, you could email anyone and the system would just work. Kind of what ActivityPub. And each server can decide how to run their own community. It's very much community led. And one of the beautiful things about it is like you keep your followers. When you're on these other social platforms, if you leave Twitter, you leave all your followers there on Twitter. But in the Fediverse, it's all interconnected and it's all part of your identity in that place. So what Flipboard is doing on Mastodon, there's two things. One is because there's over like 10,000 instances, like it can be hard to know where to get started. And so we've set up our own instance, flipboard.social, where it's a warm, comfortable, soft landing for people who want to start to understand what is Mastodon, what is the Fediverse. It's invite only, and doing this so that we can really control the vibe and the tenor in the space. We want it to stay like really high quality, really focused on authentic people sharing magazines and the things that move them. So people can go to flipboard.social to request. And like I said, I think it's like a great onboarding on-ramp into Mastodon. So I would recommend it. I'm there as Mia Q at flipboard.social. I know you're there too.
Yeah. Thanks for letting me be a part of that. Again, I didn't know anything about it, but I think it is an amazing piece to the social media network. And it is making me think about how I interact with all the rest of the social sites that I'm on. I'm really intrigued by the fact that the algorithm is dead, pretty much is not there. And so good content is good content. And so I appreciate that about Flipboard is because I feel that the best looking content is driven through that platform. And then because it integrates into Mastodon so well, an educator like myself can be seen across many different spectrums just by using a hashtag. So appreciate the invite.
Yeah, no, it's great to have you there. And that's what I'm glad you mentioned that, because like one of the cool things too about this system is that there's no algorithm. So you get what you want. And it's also really, because it's so early, it's just like a really much more friendly. I find it to be much more warm and friendly place. Like I feel like on Twitter, I have to be like much more maybe performative, but I am feeling freer to be more chatty and more myself in Mastodon. So I think it's definitely worth joining us there and checking it out for yourself. And then the second thing that we've done is you can connect your Mastodon account to Flipboard, which is really great. So that brings like our beautiful UI experience to Mastodon, where you can flip through your Mastodon feeds and then you can save stories into magazines by using the plus button. You can, with content on Flipboard from Mastodon, and all of those social interactions will also apply to Mastodon. So if Flipboard is your like one-stop shop for keeping up on all of the things that you care about, Mastodon is seamlessly integrated now. This is just for iOS. It's coming soon to Android, but it can be seamlessly integrated into your media diet when you use Flipboard.
Oh man, I love that. That is such a unique thing, because if you have a Twitter following base and it doesn't carry over to LinkedIn, and so I find myself having to go from site to site to site. I really love the fact that my favorite app is on one of the most up and coming things as far as the Fediverse goes. So I appreciate that.
Cool.
Yeah. So also too, I want to talk about, there's a creator program that you guys have started. And on the creator program, you guys are getting more creators into the program. And are you part of that too?
Yeah. This is a culmination of probably 2 years of work. Some of these aspects of these programs we've been doing for a little while, but we've never really talked about them publicly, and other aspects are new. So I'd love to explain how it works. And I think before I do that, it's important to just have a little bit of context, where I'd say for the last 10 years, Flipboard has been really publisher centric, working with the New York Times and Condé Nast of the world to bring really premium, high quality content to Flipboard and to our community. And that's still very important. But of course, as like the world has evolved since then, and some of the most influential voices are independent writers, journalists, podcasters, YouTubers. And so what it means to be a creator, those walls around who gets to be a creator have really crumbled. And so our creator announcement is really about like Flipboard embracing creators in the same way we've embraced publishers for the last 10 years. So it's ushering in a new era for creation and content on Flipboard. So I'm very excited about it. And how it works is anyone can apply to be part of our creator community. We ask that there's a few criteria that you adhere to. First of all, as I mentioned before, one of the main values for creators to be on Flipboard is that it's a fantastic engine to get discovered and to grow your audience. And people who are looking to find an audience for their content, I'd say particularly rising and mid-sized creators are going to see like the biggest lift. Anyone's welcome to apply, but I would say like we've seen that we've really helped these mid-sized and emerging creators find an audience and really make a difference in their lives. We ask that people publish like high quality content to like a newsletter, a blog, podcast at least once a week. Even Flipboard is a system that's based on like constantly feeding it with content. So it is important that the creator has a somewhat regular flow, of somewhat regular cadence of publishing content. So that's very important. It's not like critical that people who apply have a huge social following. In fact, we know that that is not an indicator of quality content, but we would like to see at least 1,000 followers on some social network. I think that is a sign that like the person's taking their growth seriously, that they're tending to these gardens, and that they're starting to get traction in terms of people wanting to follow them. And lastly, we ask that applicants have a Flipboard account, all of that metadata filled out, as I said before, and that they've started to curate Flipboard magazines. Anyone can apply using this criteria, and when people do apply, they'll be added to a mailing list that will get like creator tips and opportunities and things like that. And then Flipboard is going to also hand select a subset of those applicants to join what's called a creator collective. And being part of the creator collective unlocks some of these programs and perks. together, these programs and perks represent almost $200,000 in value every month to creator initiatives. So we have bookmarked a certain amount of ad inventory and newsletter inventory to this program to help creators be successful. So one of the programs is called a newsletter takeover program. And this is mainly in verticals: food, travel, photography, personal finance, but we also have opportunities in climate and tech for a creator to kind of take over our newsletter selection and curate around a theme that they're passionate about. So for example, this week was Equal Pay Day, and we had an executive coaching person, an executive consulting business like curate around the gap in equal pay. And she selected stories from all different sources. And that was our newsletter that we sent out on Monday of this week. We're really excited to turn over our newsletter real estate to different voices and different perspectives to curate around topics that they're passionate about. And the creator can include up to 50% of the links from their own website. So I'm really proud of this because I think it's a way that we can scale our expertise. There's no way that the internal staff of Flipboard is going to be able to expertly curate around as many topics as we have. I just love the fact that we turned this over to our community. Then we've got a residency program. So this is, again, mostly for food, travel, personal finance, photography, and climate, which are our priority verticals for now. It doesn't mean we won't add more later, but for a monthly stipend, creator comes in-house and they really help. They work about 5 to 7 hours a week, and they really help us with curating around their area of expertise. They help us with community building. So they engage with readers in the topic and in group magazines, and then just consulting on our offering, like, for example, is a photography topic, like everything that you would expect. Is it something that you want to visit daily? So that's some of what a resident does. And those last, I would say, between 3 to 6 months. We like to rotate them again so we can really scale the diversity of people that we're able to work with and the voices that they bring in and the perspectives that they bring in. Our sponsor referral program is new. So this is really exciting too. And it's a way that creators can earn cash if they have brand relationships. So Flipboard can be a fantastic way to extend those brand relationships. And this program is a good way to maybe bring Flipboard into your portfolio of what you offer a brand. So if you have a brand relationship and you introduce us to that brand, and that brand actually does decide to advertise on Flipboard, you keep 100% of the revenue for the first instance. And then if the advertiser renews, the creator will get an additional one-time $5,000 bonus. So this is a great way for the creator to extend their reach, and then for Flipboard to also meet new potential advertisers who might be a good fit for our platform. I'm talking a lot.
What's next?
We've also saved some of our inventory. We've earmarked inventory in some categories to help also promote creator initiatives. So we know that producing content is likely one stream for a lot of creators. Like, people have subscription businesses they're trying to run. They have courses. They have a cookbook that comes out. So we recognize that the creators' media empire is a lot more than just these stories. Like I said, we are bookmarking some of our inventory in categories like food. So if a creator has a cookbook coming out, we gift them that promoted story to be able to help drive sales of the book, for example. So that's another new program that we rolled out with this creator announcement.
That is
great. I just was that too much?
No, that was amazing. Because my passion is education, but there are many different educators who have a greater passion than education. And so some of them may be photography, some of them may be food, some of them maybe cook on their Facebook pages and just trying to find a niche. And the niche is right here on Flipboard because there's a community that's already interested in what they're doing. And I just like that. I think that this company provides almost like a work-life balance for me, simply because I have a passion for I have a passion for education, but I'm able to podcast, which became a new passion. And so now these are just people, I can interact with people who have that same passion. I don't have to go searching. I don't have to worry about who's looking to see what I'm doing wrong, I can be around people who have the same interests. And I love that.
I love that you said that. You're so right. And I hope that educators listening don't get discouraged. I haven't mentioned education as a vertical. That's actually one that's organically been completely thriving for a long time. And that's why we've been working with you since 2015. So education is a thriving space. And like you said, there's so many tentacles to other related categories like technology and history and business. I agree with you. I think Flipboard is a fantastic place for it to all come together. We like to say it by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. So you'll get those people who, if they don't have the real world experience on their resume, they have the real world experience from their personal life on all of these things.
And that's so cool that you guys noticed that. Like the real world experience doesn't just have to come from your professional background, that you also can have professional experience in your passion. Golly, I love it. Every story has.
Yeah.
Okay, Mia, so you have a podcast, The Art of Curation. What do you guys coming up next? What's some good things we can expect from your podcast?
Oh, thank you for asking. I love talking about the podcast. So I'm currently recording season 4. I've talked to the head of curation at Blinkist. I will be talking to someone at Substack about curation. I'm so excited in 2 weeks, I'm talking to the Baltimore Museum of Art. I think in 2021 did an exhibition called Guarding the Art, where they had their security guards curate the exhibition. So I'm talking to 2 of the guards who curated that. So excited for that perspective, which is not one that I've heard before. And then I'm also super excited because I am supposed to be talking to an author of a book called Filter World: How Algorithms Flatten Culture, which is going to come out in 2024. His name is Kyle Shayaka. He writes for The New Yorker, and he has a great Substack too. And I'm just so excited to start to tease out some of the ideas in his book in our conversation, because it's something I grapple with a lot. What is human? What is uniquely human about what people like you and I can do versus can be done well by a machine? And what's left of our humanity as generative AI really takes over, feels like it's taking over the creative industries. What's left for us and what can a machine never take away? And I loved Kyle's thought that algorithms flatten culture by keeping us in these bubbles, and that humans are uniquely positioned to understand subtlety and to surprise and delight. And I'm really excited to tease out some of those ideas in the podcast next season, which will be coming out in the summertime.
Yes. You know what? And I'm so proud of your podcast because it's done really beautifully. I really love it. I mention it at the end of my show every time. And I just want to thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Being a creator and also being a professional, because I think you have 2 jobs and 3 jobs. The fact you're a mother and a wife. You got a lot of hats.
Yeah, Lord.
It's a busy thing, but I appreciate seeing people like you. You inspire me, so I want you to know that. And I just want to thank you for curating that and just showcasing everybody that you showcase. I think it's a great podcast.
You inspire me. And I think teachers are some of the most underappreciated people who do some of the most important work. And so I really admire you. And I know that you're also a principal, and that I'm sure is such a hard job. So I salute people like you who care about our kids.
Thank you for coming on the show. Where can our listening audience find you?
You can find me on Flipboard. My account name is just @Mia. You can find me on Mastodon, Mia Q at Flipboard Social. You can find me in Mia Q in most places. I'm also Mia Q on Twitter and Mia Q on Instagram. I'm also on LinkedIn. So I think because my last name is so unique, it's not too hard to find me.
Yes, it is.
There'll be a spelling test on that.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks so much, Coach. It's so great to see you.
Are you looking for a podcast about education? Flipboard EDU Podcast is a great podcast that focuses on digital, remote, and future learning. We will explore how to use Flipboard in education and how it can enhance instruction. You'll hear from teachers, students, and experts who are using this amazing tool in their classrooms. It's not just an educational resource, but also a community of people who want to share ideas with one another. Hey, join our community today. Share your stories, ask questions, or even submit content for us to feature on the show. We want everyone involved in this conversation so we all can learn together as we move into the future of education. This is your favorite coach, Coach Jeffrey, and I look forward to you becoming a part of the Flipboard family. Click here now to follow our podcast. Until next time, family. It's pleasant.
Flipboard fam, thanks for sticking with me on this episode. I want to thank Mia Quagliarello for speaking with us about Flipboard. I also want to give a huge shout out to Crystal Vanderboom and Aileen Laylor for their edits on the Flipboard EDU Podcast magazine. Speaking of shout outs, I also want to give a shout out to All Things Marketing and Education with Elena Leone, My EdTech Life with Fonz Mendoza, Education Unleashed with Kendrick Thomas, and the Leader of Learning podcast with Dr. Dan Kreintz. Don't forget to subscribe to our Flipboard EDU Podcast magazine and the Flipboards podcast, The Art of Curation, with our guest, Mia Quagliarello. Our podcast is available globally and everywhere you listen to podcasts. So please share our podcast with an educator or a colleague. Until next time, family, every story has a plus.